Today we're going to create a starfish. We're going to use the star tool, the ellipse tool, the direct selection tool, and selection tool. Those are your white and black arrows. We're also going to be using our fill and our stroke. We're going to draw inside, and we're going to be repeating a pattern that we're going to create. This was my initial example. I'm going to go ahead and just take this out of play, and we're going to start from complete scratch. We're going to start by creating our star. If I click and drag, I am going to be creating the center point. So you notice that when I click up here in the top corner, it pulls from the center. I can hold down my space bar and move it to the middle of my artboard. If I hold down the shift key, it's going to keep it nice and straight. And I'm going to pull to the edges of my artboard. And I'm doing this because I'm going to be pulling those corners in to make them a little bit more rounded, but I do want the design to take up the majority of my artboard. I'm going to grab the white arrow, that's our direct selection tool, and I'm just going to click once. You'll notice you can see all of the corner widgets are appearing, so I'm just going to click once and then drag, and now I can kind of create those softer edges for my starfish. This is going to change all of the edges. If I only want to change one edge, I just need to click once again. That one turns blue, the others stay white, and then I can modify just that one. Alright, the next piece I'm going to do is I want to make the inside of my starfish a little bit darker for some shadowing. So I can use the Draw Inside tool. I'm going to change my color here because I want to use this as my shadowing, so I'm just going to copy that hex code and I'm going to make it a little bit brighter, a little bit more orange. And you can see as I'm moving this around in my RGB board, I can also see that changing over here as well. So this is my new color, this was the original color, that'll work pretty well for that shadowing. Now to create my shadows, I'm going to use the Draw Inside. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my toolbar and I'm going to click on the square inside of the circle. You can also click on Shift D on your keyboard to make this appear. And then I'm going to go to the ellipse tool. So using the ellipse tool, I'm just going to create an oval. And we know that we're in the Draw Inside because we see the dotted lines at the top corners of our screen, all around our subject, but we also see that part of our object will not appear. Now because it's the same color, it doesn't seem noticeable yet, but I'm going to double click in here and I'm going to paste that hex code back in for my darker color. And now we can see that separation. So now I can take my black arrow, my selection tool, and just rotate. And I just want to have my shadows just barely appear. So I'm just going to place that oval in here. And I want it to kind of end, so I'm just rotating. I want it to end right at the edge of this piece here, and then probably end just about up there as well. And I can make that narrower if I wanted to, until I have it just the way I want it. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to copy it. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and I'm just going to drag it over. Now depending on where my light is coming from is where I want to kind of place my next piece. So here it would be really easy just to drag it over here and place it down on the bottom. Rotate it just a little bit because it's not quite the same angle. And now my light is appearing from over here, going across this way. So this one might have just a little bit of a shadow on the top or the bottom. And again, just rotating until I have it the way I want it to. And then I might Alt again and rotate and just kind of place those where I want them based off of where I want the light to be appearing from. So here we have our light mostly coming from kind of this downward direction. I'm just going to keep doing that until I have my shadows all where I want them to be. And how large I want them to be. I can use my direct selection tool, my white arrow, to modify these even more if I want them to be a little bit more pronounced in some areas or straighter in some areas, like here. I might want to just kind of adjust this a little bit more because I don't need it to be that strong of a shadow right there. But I might want it to connect a little bit more over here. Now note, you want to make sure that you are clicking once on the anchor point so that it turns blue and the others turn white. If you just click on it right away and start moving it, sometimes it'll move your entire design. So here I have some shadows going around. And I might just want to add just a little bit of a shadow over here. So again, I can Alt, drag, rotate. And generally speaking, you want to make sure that you're rotating with your black arrow because the white arrow may only affect certain anchor points depending on how you have things selected. Cool. Now I have all of my shadows in here. I'm just going to double click with my black arrow. I'm going to double click out. I know that I'm still in that draw inside even though I don't have the little dots around the outside bounding box of my my object here because I see up here with this blue bar, layer 1 clipping group. This tells me that I'm inside of a group. I can also get this clue by looking at my other objects on my other artboards. They're grayed out a little bit. So when I double click outside, you'll see the color returns up here. The blue bar disappears from the upper area and we no longer see the word clipping group. So now I have this base for my starfish. What I want to do now is create the little dots that kind of appear on the top of the starfish and center in the middle. So I'm actually just going to use my ellipse tool and I'm just going to zoom in. The dots on a starfish go smaller to larger and they're not always perfectly even or centered. So I'm just going to start really, really small down here. Now, you'll notice that the circle that I'm creating here is too small to see, and that's because I have my anchor points really, really large, but they're also about the same color as my shadow. So I might want to make them just a little bit darker. So I'm just going to bring this in here and just make it a little bit darker. I'm again going to copy this hex code because for these ones I want to put just a little bit of a stroke. So I'm going to make my stroke color the same, and I'm just clicking outside of the box so I see it move, and then make it just a little bit darker again. I don't need it to be that pronounced. And then I'm going to make that about 0.75. So now if I click away, I can see that. It's a teeny tiny little dot. It's going to look pretty good on here. I'm going to get back in there, and I'm just going to make another one. And I'm going to hold down the Alt key and drag. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. And I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. And every time I do this, I want to make sure that I'm holding down the Shift key to keep it proportional. So every time I make this just a little bit bigger, just a little bit, because this is going to go a long way, right? We're going to make a copy of this and rotate it as we go. So I might zoom out a little bit more so I can kind of see how this is affecting the rest of my design. And you'll notice sometimes my arrow turns into that rotate arrow. That's because I'm getting too close to a corner. So again, just making little tiny adjustments, making it a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. We're not going to do this through the entire piece. You're going to see as we get a little bit further out here, we're going to have a way to rotate these without having to do it manually. So we're just making our duplicates. Now, as my duplicates are getting bigger, so are the strokes. And I don't want the stroke to get that big, so we're going to adjust that here in just a moment. Okay, now I've kind of made it out to the outside here, and I might not want these to get this big this fast, so we're just going to select all of these real quick. And we can just grab and select the whole thing, hold down Shift and click on the object that we don't want to appear. Because we have Draw Inside turned on, we might have to go to the path to remove it, but now you can see my bounding box is only around the objects that I want it to be on. I'm going to go over to the stroke and just turn it completely down, and then turn it up. So now I can put it to 0.75 for all of them. And then I can still make them smaller even still and bring them out a little bit further. I can take a few of these that I feel like kind of got bigger way too fast and just move them down a little further. And then take a few of these ones that are a little bit smaller, again removing that background piece, make a copy of those, and then make those a little bit bigger. Because again, these don't always have to go in a perfectly straight line. And just deleting some of those pieces. So just play around till you have your line. You might make things bigger or smaller as you go. And then again, just fix your stroke. And holding down that shift key is really important to keeping everything proportional. Okay. Once you have your line, again, double checking that your stroke is set to the same amount for everyone. Okay, so mine's at 0.75. I'm just going to come in here and now I'm going to want to rotate this. All right, so I want to rotate this so that it shows up on each of my different arms of the starfish. But I don't want to have to copy and paste and rotate and hope that I've got it all right. So I'm going to group this all together. And then I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to go to Object. I'm going to go to Repeat. And I'm going to go to Radial. So Object, Repeat, Radial. Now, this creates a whole bunch of different pieces. If you had more arms on your starfish, this might be perfect. But what we need to do is just rotate down a little bit. So we know that we have 5 arms, so we only need 5 of these. And then from there, we can just rotate this around until it matches our arms, and then we can make it smaller if we need to. So I can make my rotational smaller. By pulling on the center circle, I can move these around a little bit, and then I can go through and make my changes more locally if I need to, or continue rotating a little bit more until I have everything kind of evened out. And so this is a really fast and easy way to create that kind of centerpiece, and then we can go in and just create our actual center for our starfish. And that's quick and easy how you create a starfish in Adobe Illustrator. Make sure you save, Control S.